Hello and welcome to the special report on your first agricultural television, Arcn Abuja. I am Hilda Homsem Francois. A one-day sensitization workshop organized by Gender and Youth Unit of Arcn, facilitated by Farm Woman in Nigeria Limited, with the theme Health, Safety and Hygiene in the Work Environment, calls the attention and the need for all to be aware and gain employees' trust in order to enhance and increase productivity in the workplace. Representing the Executive Secretary Arcn, Professor Zaki, in the opening remark, admonished the need for good hygiene, which in turn enhance productivity in a work environment. He acknowledged the concept of the organizers.
One-day sensitization workshop on health, safety and hygiene in work environment does not need any emphasis. Understanding our health status and maintaining it will go a long way in enhancing increased productivity in workplace. Environmental safety and total adherence to safety regulations will boost the morale and productivity of our workers. Good hygiene in work environment is a sine qua non for efficiency and effectiveness. When hygiene factors are provided in work environment, workers can be programmed to work like machines. Motivation at workplace will facilitate the realization of organizational goals. Finally, I thank the organizers of this eventful occasion, the Arcn Gender and Youth Division, and facilitated by Farm Woman Nigeria Limited. Wishing you a very, very fruitful deliberations in the sensitization process.
Mrs. Aisha Bakpet elaborated the need for hygiene and safety practice in workplace, which means those simple personal and collective responsibilities and practices that are put in place in the work environment with a view of preventing injuries or the spread of contracting diseases.
We are going to be free from diseases. A lot of diseases like typhoid, malaria, cholera, hypertension, they are preventable if we actually take good care of our health. Typhoid is just all about hygiene. If you keep a beautiful environment, maintain good hygiene, practice hand washing, do a lot of personal hygiene, environmental hygiene, food hygiene. If you go through all these processes, typhoid will just go. Water safety too is very key. The type of water you drink too is going to affect you or is going to make you to be safe. So it's something that we know. These are preventable diseases that if you do it on your own, you're going to be free. Nobody will come and do it for you. And as you listen to this following presentation, I'm looking at us to taking it down to our various home. Hygiene is everybody's business. It's not something sectional. Men too need to practice personal hygiene. Women need to practice personal hygiene. Children need to practice personal hygiene. If we know it as an adult, the world will be free from diseases. The environment will be, everybody will be free from diseases. So let's go. This is just the slide I have. I'm talking about safety and hygiene and safety practice in workplace. What do we mean by that? It's a simple and personal collective responsibility and practices that are put in place in the work environment with a view of preventing injury or the spread of contracting diseases. Very simple. Like I earlier mentioned, is do it yourself. We don't need somebody to give us education on how to keep ourselves clean. On the maximum of 1 no one should be injured or made ill at work. No one should be injured or made ill at work. No one. If you follow the simple procedure, you're going to see that you are out of a lot of danger that is preventable. Then, why hygiene and safety? Why are we here? Why do we need to have more knowledge on hygiene and safety? Number one, prevent illness and injury. Two, increase productivity. Mrs. Fashi have mentioned that, and even the acting ES mentioned that during his opening remark. Then, increase public perception. Avoid from huge loss in businesses and also in workplace. If you have this knowledge, these are the what we're going to benefit. Minimize legal liability. A lot of work safety procedure, injury in workplace. At the end of the day, some of the workers who want to sue the government. It is because of this that this happened. I have injury because the work environment is not friendly. At the end of the day, there's going to be legal action and, a lot of payment to be done. So if you can, these are the procedure you go. Prevent illness and injury. Number one, hygiene and safety procedure in the workplace can reduce employment illness and injury, which lead to minimize potential death to happen. This procedure can help the employer and employee to understand the potential hazard in their work environment. Most of safety issues arose due to insufficient knowledge and skill regarding to hygiene and safety procedure. So people don't even have the knowledge. Some want to manage. You have the right to demand for things that you really need to make your work effective in your office. You are in a place that the place is dark. For example, there is no light, and you are not seeing clearly in your office, and director or your boss asks you to do some work in the office, and it's like you must do it. At the place, there's no light. So how are you going to manage it? At the end of the day, if you force yourself to do that job, your eyes will be affected. Your eyes will be affected because you want to make sure the place is dark and there's no light. NEPA to the light, there is no generator available to. These are things that we do that we don't know that it's affecting our health. Some people, they started work as a secretary. You are typing and the computer setting is not well. There's a screen guard that is supposed to use your computer, but you are managing. Before you retire, the eyes, it will affect your eyes. You start using glasses, and at the end of the day, your eyes, before you get to 60, 70, you have difficulty in seeing clearly. So these are the things that we don't know, that we need to demand for it. That's why we are here. At the end of the day, I'm looking at us putting up some requests, because we are going to see that there are some things that we're supposed to have in our offices that we don't have. What about overcrowding? You see that in a workplace, this office is meant for 2, 3, and you see that about 10, they are managing. At the end of the day, there's going to be a cross-contamination of maybe diseases. Some people have cough, and before you know, it's going to affect somebody. What about ventilation? There are some offices, their windows are so poor. There's no cross-ventilation. And once a house is opened without ventilation, a lot of diseases will happen in that place. So these are things that we need to look out for. Then, increase productivity. Unhygienic, unsafe working environment are bad for employee morale. I've mentioned that before. Once the environment is not conducive, at the end of the day, you're working, you are getting tired, you're sweating, there's no fan, there's no AC, there's no ventilation, and you're in that office working. You are putting 8 hours. So what is going to happen to you after you go home? You can't even do more at home. You get tired. I am having body pain. I can't do this. Not only that, the office already have affected your productivity because of the environment. Employees who focus on maintaining a hygiene and safe work environment, besides conducting safety and health training to employee, can build stronger relationship with employee. If the environment is good and all the materials, equipment you need is available, definitely, you'll be happy coming to the office. There are some people, they don't like, I don't want to come to this office because when I come, the place is looking dirty. They are just disgusted because that office is not conducive. While some people, they prefer to come to the office than even staying in their home because the office environment is so conducive for them. They come, they relax, there's AC, there is a lot of ventilation, they have all their equipment available, their computers are working, they have first aid box, they have fire extinguisher, the toilet is okay, it's clean, you can enter, come in. So if you have all this, when you come to the office, definitely your productivity will be high. Give me a job to do and say, I cannot do this job because I'm not feeling fine. This chair is not too good for me. If I sit down, my back is not comfortable. There are some chairs that will be supplied to some of the staff. At the end of the day, the chair will be causing backache. So these are things that we need to check. And once you're having backache, your productivity will be low. And your boss will not be satisfied. You too will not be satisfied when you are putting your effort in the work. Thus, employees will show their loyalty and increase their work productivity in unhygienic environment. Next slide. Issue, increased public perception and rating. Not having a hygiene and safety procedure practices in workplace can have negative impact to the business activity. If there is no safety procedure in place, there's going to be negative impact in the business, and also economically, there will be no production. Employee must understand that hygiene and safety goes well beyond their employee and reaches the public rating. A positive team morale increases positive customers interaction, which lead to customer retention, loyalty, and high rating. It's going to give all this positive feedback. Avoid from huge loss in business. Once you are having a safe environment and effective hygiene practice is being put in place in the environment, definitely there's going to be a lot of loss will be avoided. Employee must continue to pay employee who miss work because they are unavailable as a result of workplace injury. Once you are not there, the work will not go on. Maybe you are the person that have full capacity in that office. You can't mentor anybody because you are not available to put in your best in the office. If the absence is long-term, the company may need to hire another person to replace the sick or injured employee temporarily to ensure their business runs as usual. And fortunately, this dwell more on business individual, but we're talking about government. If you have a work plan in your office and you have a term to execute that work plan and you are not feeling fine because of the environment and work hazard, definitely that department will be incapacitated because the person that's supposed to do the job is not in the office to really undertake submit the proposal or work with the work plan. At the end of the day, that department, why haven't you submit your work plan? What happened? He said, she's not around, he's the one that has the work plan. He's the one that's supposed to do the schedule. But because the person is not there, that activity might be truncated. Therefore, safety and health training must be carried out. That's why we are here, so that we can have more productivity in our work in order to gain knowledge and enhance skills about specific safety and health standard and guideline. Minimize legal liability. We've mentioned this before. Once you have a good safety environment, legal liability will be minimized. People will not sue employee to court that they must do this because it's because of the job. Although government, I don't know how many people sue because you're working in the government. Start looking at that. Although it's in the health and safety plan, that in the developed country, I believe that a lot of them, they sue their employee. They sue them because any hazard that happened in that office is because of the job I was doing. That's why I don't know if we have a clinic here. Do we have clinic? There's no staff clinic. And so we need to look out for that. We need to have staff clinic. You can't be putting on 8 hours and you are having headache or you are having injury or something happened to you and you can't have a nearby clinic to get a doctor and to attend to you. So we need to have such put in place so that it can improve our productivity. Occupational Safety and Health Act of 2012 of Nigeria states that people have the right to feel and be safe at work. You have the right to a clinic in this place. You have a right to a safe environment. You have a right to have all safety procedure in place in your workplace. It's set for maximum standard for various industrial and work environments. Therefore, safety and health training must be carried out in every company to create the awareness about the importance of safety and health in the workplace. I'm so excited with the management of of the organization for this training. So now that we are being trained, it's going to open up what we know, what we feel that is not right. Now that we have this awareness, it's going to support us. When we go back to train, the train of trainer is going to support them. Say, oh, we need to do this, we need to put it. There are some things that you can just write. So I need this, I need that. That you never knew that these are your needs, these are your rights. So after the training, you start looking up how to change the normal practice that is being put in place in the office. Employees who disobeyed or violate against the law may face the penalty that will affect their reputation. You know, it's not going to be so good that this and this, you know, if you follow the law, they'll try the right. Health and Safety Right 2012 is there. You can Google it. When you go through it, you see that you have a right to demand for your employee to fix some things that are supposed to be done in your office. These are the basic hand washing and personal hygiene. I've talked about, because when you are sick, you know, a lot of your family will not be happy, you too will not be happy, and you know what it's going to cause. It can cause death, it can cause you wasting a lot of money in the hospital, and a lot of period you're supposed to use to make yourself available, productivity will be wasted. So hand washing and personal hygiene, these are the domain of hygiene. These are the 4 domains of hygiene. Hand washing and personal hygiene, very key. Environmental sanitation, fumigation. I don't know how often we fumigate. Fumigation is supposed to be done 6 months in any office because there are some. But once you do the fumigation, at the end of the day, you see that all those reptiles will leave the environment. When you have slippery environment, you're going and maybe the cleaner just finished cleaning, you want to pass, before you know it, there's no caution that please, I'm walking here, we need to put a sign that this place is wet, and you are coming in, before you know you slip, and what will happen to you? Environmental sanitation is very, very key. How often do you do environmental sanitation within the workplace? How often is very key. Hand washing and personal, I want to dwell more on this. Hand washing and personal hygiene, very, very key. Some of us, how many times do we wash our hands? How often? When and when are we supposed to practice hand washing? When do we supposed to practice hand washing? Hand washing is very, very key. It's very safe and effective, costless. You don't need more money to wash your hands. And there's a findings that said 1 gram of feces have 1 million bacteria, 10,000 viruses. And I'm just trying to remember, and there's this helmet too. But the 1 million bacteria is very, very important. And that's why most of us are falling ill. Hand washing is very, very key. You look at it as very simple, but it's very, very key. It can solve all those preventable diseases like typhoid, cholera, and a lot of diseases, preventable diseases. Some of us, we kept on treating cholera every day. I don't know why I'm this cholera. But because you are not washing your hands effectively. It's not all about going to the restaurant, you just dip your hand in the bowl, and you come out, my hands are clean. No. You have to do it effectively. The water needs to run. Any hand washing you're doing and the water is not pouring out is not hand washing. Any hand washing you practice and is inside a bowl, you are washing your hand in one location and the bacteria will be inside the bowl rotating. And when you want to eat your food, not knowing that you have already contaminated your fingers. And any hand washing without soap is not effective, because soap is a very strong antibacterial. They can destroy a lot of germs once you use soap. They are very effective. So the soap is very key, and the running water is very key. And number 1, once you want to wash your hand, let me just make sure the critical point of hand washing. 1, after using the toilet, you wash your hand with soap under running water. The running water can be not normal, it must not be in a tap. If you don't have tap in your home, somebody can pour, or you pour it yourself, but the water should flow on the ground or wherever you want the water to pass through. That is number 1. After using the toilet, very key. Number 2, before you eat your food, very key. Number 3, Once you remove your baby diaper, your mothers, baby diaper is, as soon as you remove your baby diaper, you wash your hand with soap under running water. Then, some of us, we are touching animals. We are, you go to the farm, you have your chicken, goats, whatever, pigs, and you touch them. There's what they call zoonosis, transfer from animal to man. But hand washing alone can solve a lot of problems. You can't just go to the farm and you come out, you just, no problem. You just rub your hands or you just see something. No, once you don't use soap, there must be contamination. And before you know it, you pick mango from the farm or you pick orange and you start taking it. If you cannot, typhoid will never leave you because there's contamination in your fingers. The fingers, they are very delicate, but they are deadly. The fingers have killed a lot of under 5 children when they have diarrhea because of just simple hygiene. They come back from school, they didn't wash their hands because they want to eat. They rush to the food. Mommy, I want to eat. And they take the food. And you didn't guide them. And they start training, running stomach. You take them to the hospital. You can't come to the office again because you are treating your children at home. Just preventable diseases. Simple technique. Simple critical point. And for mothers still, you need to wash your hand before breastfeeding. You need to wash your hand before breastfeeding your child. These are the how to wash your hand, but I'm going to make it the way you wet your fingers, but I'm not doing it the way it's supposed to be under running water. So you wet your fingers, you wet the soap, it should form. Any hand washing you're practicing without the soap, form it ladder. Then you need to make sure that you have ladder in your hand. Then you see I'm washing my finger. Let me just make it 6 steps to make it easier. To follow this one, you're going to, this is it. This is it. Then the thumb. Fingers. Because a lot of diseases can be trapped in your fingers before you eat your food. Then you go back of your fingers. That's all. 6 steps. Yeah, 6 steps. 1, can we go together? 1, 2, 3. The fingers. You toggle it. Then your thumb. Then your wrist. There are 6. I did this. This one goes together. This and this goes together. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. This is 5. This is 6. Under running water. Then you air dry. If I rub my hand on my body now, I don't know what has touched my clothes. So you don't rub your air dry. You don't use tissue to clean. You don't know what this process I've gone through. So you air dry, you're free. My hands is as safe, as clean. Every bacteria, viruses, helmintic diseases have been destroyed because of the soap and because it's under running water. You go to a restaurant, don't dip your hand in. Make sure that the water is running.
Personal health, monitoring at work and on the field, and also managing emergency at workplace, represented by Dr. Olorun Toba, who also stressed the need for all at workplace to be aware of some first aid tactics when the need arises.
When we say we want to monitor health, we are helping when you do that for yourself or your employee, and your employer. By the way, let us appreciate the organizers, and even, can we jam our hands together for them? It's a very thoughtful thing. It's a very wonderful thing for them organizing this. And I believe they will do more because I'm going to be giving some recommendations. So by the time you are monitoring your health, you are helping to understand your daily behavior. You are always monitoring your health. So when something goes wrong, you know what your daily behavior is. You know how you are before. You know, we talked about the mental aspect. I am beginning to be depressed. I'm beginning to have this ache. I'm beginning to have this too much quarrels at work. You understand? So know what your daily behavior is. If you are someone that monitors your health, then you can easily identify risk of chronic illnesses. We have chronic illnesses, the hypertension, the diabetes, the COPD, that's chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. For people, like in our setting, it's the agricultural research, so we're exposed to chemicals and all those things. So now, if you even have a current medical condition, by the time you are monitoring your health, you'll be able to know when you are having complications, know when you are doing the right thing, to make sure you are making progress so that you are not even getting worse at what you have. That is for people that have a condition. Then, like I said, in an industrial standpoint, when we are exposed to laborious activities, you're exposed to chemicals, you're exposed to what have you, it is important that you know that we are at an increased risk of injury, illnesses, then other aspects can be affected, like our productivity. Another important health monitoring is that the regular testing of an employee's health will help them. That is in the area related to it involves that the area that is at risk, that is you now in the agricultural sector, you know you are exposed to chemicals, and you will always want to check that your respiratory system is always fine. If it's someone that is exposed to radiological substances, you always check for radiological substances in the body to make sure that, okay, I'm not getting excessive exposure so that I am not at risk of cancers. Do you understand? So it depends on your area of risk. Then you could do like the second point, hearing and vision screening. People that are exposed to screen all the time, people that are exposed to loud noise, you want to make sure that all these things are okay. Then people that are exposed to hazardous substances, it is always important to check all these things. So, yes, next slide. So if we want to promote health, the personnel's health at work, we have to, number one, identify the hazards that these employees are exposed to. We have to monitor exposure to these hazards. We have to control the exposure to these hazards. Then the employee's health, monitoring the health. Then lastly, a report should be issued. Next slide. So let's just take them one after the other. So what does identifying these hazards mean? We've said it before. The sector you're working depends on the type of hazards you are exposed to. We have to identify it, which we have done. We have to make sure that these hazards are known. If you know what these hazards are, you will know how to tackle them, how to reduce them, how to prevent exposure, too much exposure. So we have to monitor this exposure. Now, what does this entail? You are tracking the level and the duration of exposure of your employees and that they are experiencing. I'll use an example in my field now. The people that are doing the radiological investigations, they have this badge they wear here. So after like 2-3 months of exposure to radiation, there's a reading that shows that, okay, I have been exposed too much. They give them some time off so that this exposure can be reduced drastically. Then they can resume back. All these things are putting things in place to make sure that something is monitoring your level of exposure. In our setting now, in the agricultural aspect, I don't know if we have such measures, but what we can usually do is monitor the health, which we'll get to. Next point. So you want to control exposure. Once you know what these hazards are, you want to control the exposure to this hazard. You want to use protective equipment like your nose mask, you're exposed to your chemicals, you still have machines, you have mechanical things you're working with that can be sharp, that can cut. because you have to wear your personal protective equipment to protect you from all these injuries. So you have identified and you have monitored the hazards in your workplace. It is now important to monitor the health of your employees. Before now, I was told that some people slumped, some people just, while at work, they just slumped. So it was important that employees' health was being monitored. If that was done, at least it would have gone a long way to help, because you'll be monitoring your health, monitoring your basic health parameters. So what does it help you do? It helps to put, you are carrying out some specific tests, but it should be carried out by a qualified health practitioner. In general, what we are talking about is a medical checkup. A medical checkup. That is how you monitor your health as a personnel. This can be done by yourself. This can be done by your employer to make sure that my employees, their health is of paramount importance to me. If they are healthy, they will give me sound and productive years. Do we understand? So it involves a lot of tests, vision tests, hearing tests, lung function tests, laboratory, and radiological investigations. Radiological ones are the ones that involve your chest x-ray, the ones that involved in, other things like the ultrasound, MRI, CT. Then the laboratory ones are the ones that use your blood, your urine. So say for instance your urine. You check your urine, you're checking, do urinalysis, you're using that to check for some function in your kidneys. And even the blood, they call it the renal function test. It tells you how your kidneys are functioning. We understand. And you can do other things, your lipid profile test. We are eating a lot of bad cholesterol. We are eating them a lot from even foods outside, the fast food and everything. So by the time you're checking your cholesterol level, it helps you know, I am going overboard. I have to watch my cholesterol. Because all these things have their ways of working together to cause chronic illnesses, the hypertension, the diabetes. So by the time you're even doing things like your fasting blood sugar, your glycated hemoglobin, these things are to check for sugar. So you don't just jump into diabetes. There's the pre-diabetic stage. You are getting close. You should watch what you're eating before you finally get into the diabetic stage properly. So by the time you do all these investigations, you are monitoring your health. And it's something that we should do on a yearly basis, at least in a year. But if you can do twice, wonderful. So what is this medical checkup? They are things, there are investigations you do to detect health threats early enough. So by the time you do all these investigations we mentioned before, if there's a problem, it's detected early. The problem is fixed. Even if it's not fixed, it can be prevented from getting worse. Do we understand? Now, like I was saying before, we advocate that you do this checkup once or twice in a year. But there's a caveat here. If you are 40 years and above, you will want to increase the frequency. And if you have chronic conditions before, you will not do one or two. You are going to increase your frequency. You should have a regular clinic follow-up with your physician. Yes. By the way, okay, the first speaker was asking if we have like a clinic here. So that's my first recommendation. We should have like a clinic. We should have a doctor, a physician, somebody to man the place and be able to attend to simple things, be able to check simple things. All right, so what does it entail? A physical examination. As you are or not, they will check if there's any swelling in any part of your body. They will check all physical things we're saying. Then the next point is the blood and urine test, which I mentioned before, and the radiological investigation. They will ask you questions about your family history. There are diseases that if your parents had it, it is every possibility that you can have it. So if they are there, they will start telling you on time how to avoid these things, how to prevent these things, so that you don't fall in the same problem like the diabetes, the hypertension that we mentioned. Then you are screening for high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, cancer screening. Then there are some of these conditions that we can vaccinate against, like hepatitis B. And hepatitis B. We can vaccinate against that because If we are dealing with sharp objects, you get a cut, and another person works with that same thing, gets a cut, you have transmitted the infection. But if your employees are vaccinated, because we can have every employee vaccinated, you can do a routine checkup, you can do a routine vaccination for your employees and make sure that all these things are in place. So the importance cannot be overemphasized. It helps you, you are up to par with your health. It helps you prevent infections, prevent complications. It helps you reduce the risk of developing more health issues, then even heart risk, which we cannot, like the people that slumped and died, it could most likely be a cardiopulmonary thing, most likely. So if the heart is okay, which we will know from these checkups, we will be able to know, okay, this person is hypertensive, this person is diabetic and all. So it will also increase lifespan, improve health, reduce health costs. If you don't manage it when it is small, if it becomes big, trust me, you're going to spend much more. So when you manage, you do your investigations, say you check for sugar today, and sugar is pre-diabetic, and you start taking care of. To do that test might be 2,000 marks. But if you become diabetic today and they place you on drugs for life and they place you on insulin, needle pricks for life, you can imagine, apart from the torture, the money you are going to spend on drugs. Some negative health warnings, and if you're having these things, you know that, okay, something sinister is happening, something is wrong, and I need to act fast. So chest pain. Some people have chest pain. Chest pain is a pointer to a lot of diseases, a lot of heart diseases especially, like someone that is about to have a heart attack, the one we call in our field the myocardial infarction, that is the heart attack. Sudden, the person the blood supply, because the person has been hypertensive for a while, every part of the body is supplied by blood, every part of the cell, every part of the organ, the tissue. So even the heart itself needs blood to survive. So because of hypertension and blood is not getting to feed the heart itself, it can arrest. So that is what we call heart attack. So someone has been having this central chest pain that is moving to your left shoulder, moving to your left neck. These are pointers to an imminent heart attack. So one has to be careful, especially when you are hypertensive and you are having a chest pain. You have to run to the doctor. This is what I am feeling. He's going to check your blood pressure, check things, and make sure that, okay, what am I up against? He's going to do other things like ECG. How many of us know ECG? ECG. So that tells you the electrical activity of the heart. You can even do an echo and all these things to check, okay, this chest pain, where is it coming from? Is it a muscular pain? Is it a cardiovascular thing? Then we'll know. Then something basic as fatigue and weakness. You are someone that is always active, but suddenly you are very fatigued, or you are always fatigued, you are always weak. It could be a serious illness like heart disease, diabetes, especially when you take a lot of rest, when we are getting good results. It's something to worry about. Lack of sleep and all the rest. So shortness of breath. This is also related to the cardiovascular diseases. You are not breathing well. You see that your breath is shallow. You're supposed to have a deep breath, but you're shallow, but even now very frequent. Your heart, your breathing normally should not exceed 20 cycles per minute, but by the time you're having it above those levels, and especially again if you are someone with risk of cardiovascular diseases, you are hypertensive and the rest, and you are beginning to have shortness of breath, you need to see the doctor. They will check your oxygen saturation, they will check all those things we mentioned before for the heart. So it could also be a disease of the lung. If you have been exposed to chemicals for 10 years, you've been inhaling it, you've not been using your nose mask and the rest, you start having lung fibrosis, you start having lung issues, different lung pathologies, and that is reducing your lung function. Okay, so landmark, let this be here. Now, And before you even start, you don't just run into this place and start checking blood pressure. Of course, the blood pressure will not give you the exact reading. The person has to automatic one, you just do an on and off. And while doing it, the patient is not expected to talk. So the automatic gives you a systolic, diastolic, and the pulse rate. Systolic is the upper one. I believe we've taken blood pressure before. You have an upper value and a lower value. So the upper value is the systolic and the lower value is the diastolic. But on an average, we just say 120/80. If you have that, fine, beautiful. But it should not be more than, it should not hit 140 for the upper one, it should not hit 90 for the lower one. But this is age dependent. It's still enough to do a lot if you don't have someone to give this. Now, to do your chest compression, I said that the middle of the chest, and your hands like this. The middle like this. Like this. So your hand is like this. It gives you more effect. Do you understand?
Yes.
It's a strong man. It's a strong man. So by the time you are doing like this, you are not. You will be mistaken. Do you get? So you are doing 30. So 30 to 2. So even if you don't have the person, like I said, this is enough to 3, 4, 5, 6,
7. Don't do
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So by the time you do this, 2 rescue breaths here.
Participants were grouped as they discussed on some issues and then presented the outcome to the last cycle, and thereafter expressed their appreciation and assured that they will retrain others and adhere to what you've learned. The organizers also appreciated the open mind and willingness of the participants and urged organizations to pay keen attention for the staff for better productivity.
What are the precautionary and safety measures in work environment? List them. We are asked to list them. Here we have listed 3 items, and I'm going to mention them one after the other. The first one is this: washing of hands and personal hygiene. 2, environmental sanitation / fumigation. And thirdly, recognizing accident-causing objects in workplace.
Question says, bring out challenges that may affect health in the office and field environment. And we have quite a number on our list. Number 1, poor lighting in the office, bad furniture, dirty toilets / unavailability of toiletries, lack of adequate water supply, air pollution, accidents during office renovation / construction work, overcrowding in the office, lack of office accommodation, lack of first aid kit, poor vehicle maintenance, inadequate working tool, lack of proper orientation of staff.
On safety and hygiene measures. That's our question. And the answer, by providing the following measures and services. 1, providing hand sanitizers in all offices and strategic places. Availability of water in toilets and necessary places. Provide water waste disposals in strategic places. And providing active cleaners with good work tools. Providing soaps and tissue papers in all the toilets. And number 6 says, need to establish clinic within the council. Then number 7 says, providing serviceable fire extinguishers and fire equipment in strategic places within the offices. Thank you very much.
Group 2. Number 1, regular sensitization stroke training on health matters and management. Number 2, hygienic environment and safety. Number 3, provision of first aid box, well-equipped one. Number 4, establishment of staff clinic. Number 5, making for staff. Number 6, good staff welfare.
So health and safety measures in the work environment, and also and how to apply some interventions like first aid and the like. I hope with our manual that we have had, we'll go so that we'll keep our mind refreshed of the important things that we have learned. We've also talked about the hygiene and safety measures in the work environment, the simple washing of hands, especially in the rushing water, and then with soap. All these things, yes, we should not wait for the office to provide some of these things. We can also apply it in our homes, in our personal life. The ones the office can provide, we pray they provide, but there are some things we can ask on our own. So let's take steps. So
very much better, and I feel that this is a wake-up call for every staff in the council. This is, I'll call it, it's timely. It's timely because hygiene, safety, and health in the working environment need to be adhered to. Because without this, you see a lot of staff having issues, not knowing they have issues. So this is actually a wake-up call for every staff in the department. Thank God they said this is to train the trainer. So we are going back to our various departments to train other staff on this issue.
Safety is very important for everybody. Safety is very important. And then the health too. Because they say health is wealth. Without a good health, you can't even perform well in the office. So but with a good health, you can get a maximum participation in your office, and then you'll be able to have a good, how do you say it? You'll be able to give a good, just a good performance.
Well, I'm very happy because the program is educative, and when you don't know much about your health, that's why you see some people have some challenges, health challenges, and they could not know where and how to handle it. But when you are educated about your health and you know much about it, when there's any challenge, you can know what to do and how to go about it. Actually, I've decided to have some tools, medical tools, that could help me to either check my BP, check my blood sugar, and follow some of the rules of exercising my body and to take care of myself too, and even advise others and educate others on what I've learned today.
And I spoke on personal health and some medical emergencies, how to manage them. All right, so the most important thing today, or a take home I will give, is that hypertension is a silent killer. And to curb the menace of hypertension and its complications, one has to be always checking, you have to always check your blood pressure. It's not something difficult. With this FIG, the automatic ones we have nowadays, even once in a week, once or twice in a week, you can always check that. And if you have a long-standing hypertension before now, or even the complications, that is the more reason why you should always check it. If you know your blood pressure is elevating, you know what to do. You have to see your doctor, you have your lifestyle modifications and your diet to start with, and if that is not doing it, we have to switch to drugs. But the important thing is that hypertension has to be handled. If your blood pressure is properly controlled, other comorbidities like diabetes, your kidney injuries will be properly handled.
Things like this are being done in the agri sector because, like I said during my first presentation and the intro, that what most people don't know is they think it's the construction industry, that have casualties, but we have more undocumented casualty in the agri sector, like the local farmers and all these people. So I'm happy that there's an awareness in the agri sector for this kind of thing. And judging from what the moderator said, that they had about almost 7 deaths here, which would have been prevented, and things like this that we have done now will create more awareness among the staff. They will become intentional about their health. They will be on the lookout for each other, that if I see you, you are looking pale, what is wrong with you? Even if you are not willing to take care of yourself, I will report you to the authorities so that they can help take care of you to avert death. And in preparing for this, I'm happy because I'm impacting knowledge. That is just what my company is about, training, agriculture and the environment. And in doing all this, we impact knowledge. For training, we create awareness on the environment. So I'm impacting knowledge that is saving lives. We have done this even at secondary school, tertiary level, safety everywhere. So I'm impacting knowledge and creating awareness that, look, we can avert so many deaths. We can avert casualties. And you understand? And just like we told you, we are going to make recommendations to the Research Council on what to do, because out of those 7 deaths, probably some of them would have survived if they were able to put in things we have taught them today.
Actually, this event, it gives me joy because it's one area that has not been discussed over the years, and health is very important. I believe that all those that are here today, they've been actually sensitized, and it will go a long way to help, but not just in the work environment, even at our homes. We've learned so much how to manage things like when somebody is fainting, you have blood pressure, and then eating habits as well. A lot has been said. Well, for those that are not here, I believe they have their reasons. And that's why you made it to be a train-the-trainers approach. And what that means that those that are here definitely have to go back to their respective departments and put those that we are not around to know what has been taught today. And again, we have to follow up, not just for them to go and do. We have to be sure that they actually deliver. We made the material available to them. We went the extra mile to do that. Otherwise, we are just waiting for them to come and go. But we know the benefits of this, so we have to follow it up. And we're also going to write a communique to the management for things that need to be done. And we pray they will listen to us. So I feel highly, for me, it's a success. I feel delighted that it's been planned and we actually came this far. It's funny that the ES was not there at the beginning, but he's the one that gave the approval. And I'm happy with the facilitator, what they did. So I believe it's a starting point. We could gauge them further, not just maybe, because they're supposed to do other things, like going around to check the environment. So, but they couldn't do that one today. So if we have other opportunities to engage them, I definitely believe that we can still explore more opportunities.
Hope you've learned from the one-day sensitization workshop on health, safety and hygiene in the work environment, organized for the Agricultural Research Council of Nigerian Staff, Abuja. I am Hilda Homsem Fantram saying keep watching more of our programs. Thank you and take care.